The topic tonight is corporate clubs requiring a paradigm shift and going from a club mindset to being a program and also going to an enterprise mindset. We believe that Toastmasters can scale inside corporations only when positioned as a strategic asset. And this is important for a couple reasons. One is because vitalizing existing clubs and starting new clubs is a district mission. Our speaker tonight is well qualified. She's a former Toastmasters International president and a distinguished Toastmaster. She has deep experience in corporate club development and global Toastmasters strategy. She's a practitioner, not a theorist. She focuses on execution, systems, and real world corporate dynamics, and she has an observational style. She identifies the gaps, designs solutions, and tests them in practice. Please let's give a warm welcome to past International President Pat Johnson.
Thank you so much, Bob, and our District Director-elect Christian, and everyone else here. First of all, thank you for your time. And also, it's great that I'm on this side of the country and I'm actually recognizing faces like I've got friends on the screen again. I love it. Angela and DJ and Anne and ooh, it's wonderful. So thank you, and others as well. Uh, First of all, I want to say that my background is corporate training. That's where I made my living, was in the corporate world. I ran training departments. And as I sat in that office, I was always so often puzzled by why didn't we have Toastmasters? And I would see Toastmasters squeezed in around the corner and down in the dark basement room after hours, like it was a dirty secret of the corporation to have Toastmasters in-house. And I went, why don't we have it up in the training room and where all the facilities are, where all the people are walking by and seeing and hearing this? And so I started looking at it critically. As Bob referenced, I'm always looking at things from what could work and how can we make it work. And so I imagined a Toastmasters representative, you and I, walking into my office saying, I've got a product I'd like to sell you. Well, first of all, I never ever had a Toastmaster approach me with that kind of a concept. They always, anybody I talked to would come in, not, well, they didn't come into my office because they didn't come approaching it like a business deal. But when I would talk to people of how they would sell Toastmasters, it was, well, it changed my life. I said, well, that would be the only sentence you'd get to say before you'd be told that I was busy and I didn't have time to talk to you, because I was not looking to change the lives or help my employees find their tribe or find a mate, or that it was great networking. No, wasn't looking for that. And so I realized that we really had to start and change our language and get rid of all our jargon that we talk in Toastmasters, because corporate doesn't have a clue what we're talking about. And so they're not going to buy. We had to look at what the benefits would be for them. We have to really look deeply and say, what actually, how would this benefit a corporation if they invested money and time in this? Because that's what I'm going to ask them to do. And thirdly, for me, was to be really clear that I was going with way more questions for them than I was going with answers. I wanted to find out if they would be a really good match for the Toastmasters program. I saw us going in as a potential contractor with this corporation. And on that basis, I had to have my pitch together. I had to figure out what I was selling, what the benefits were, what it cost, how we would implement it, and I had to be able to solve or raise issues that they had to solve in order to put it in place. So how did we do that? Well, first of all, I realized that I really needed to think like the corporation before I went in there. So if you can, it's not about knowing how many people and what their values are necessarily, but it is, are they a learning culture? Do they actually spend money on their employees? So that's one of the first questions I ask once I'm in there. And I'm not going to talk about how to get in there right now, because that's a whole other 2-hour discussion. We can talk about it briefly, but I want to focus on what we do when we get in there. Ask lots of questions like how do you qualify somebody you're doing business with? I say, how many employees have you got that go through training? Have you got a training department that runs your training in your company? How many employees? How does it work? Do you track that training? Do you pay for their training? Do they go on work hours or do they have to do that on their own time? Do you have an allocated budget for your individuals? Because some corporations where I've worked have an actual dollar amount assigned to each employee to spend each year. Do you know if your corporations have that? If you don't, you want to ask them because you want to figure out how they're spending their training dollars. Often they allocate their training dollars out to each branch. So you might get in a corporation and they're saying, "Oh, you can only have the IT people want you. They've got money for that." And you're going, "Well, what about all the rest of them?" But it could be that it's allocated out there and they've done something else with it. So you want to be really curious about money and how they support their training. Do they have a learning management system where, just like we do in Toastmasters, where they track the progress of people? Do they design their own training? All those things that you can find out about that corporation by asking them. And they like to talk about themselves, so they'll tell you. So that's one of the first things that I do is get all those questions that I want answered or ideally have conversation about before I go in there. And then I ask if they have a need for any kind of communication or leadership training because and that we're experiential learning. So you learn by doing. This is not book learning. Your people aren't going to go to a one-day course and be thrown back in the workplace with binder to read and apply sometime, but we're going to spend time building the skills. And so I explain that to people also to really get them to understand because a lot of the training that happens in corporations is knowledge transfer. They just push, you've got to do this, that, push this button, do that, and then check the guide and it'll help you through it, and then they kick you back out on the floor. Where Toastmasters is very different in that we give you knowledge, but then we give you space to practice, and then we support you. We let you practice and we continually give you feedback so there's continuous improvement so you continue to build your skill, which is very different because we have knowledge, we have experience, and we have that the knowledge and experience, and we have to have action on the knowledge in order to build a skill. Okay, so that's what Toastmasters does, which makes us very unique in the corporate world. And they, for the most part, don't have a lot of that kind of training. So we have to be prepared to talk about that as well. Okay. So that's what well, I won't go there for a minute. So I want to talk first of all about the language that I use when I go into the corporate world, because we've got DTMs and pathways, and we've got public speaking. Some people use that, which to me is the deadly poison to say in corporate world, because I had about 3 people a month come into my office trying to sell me public speaking when I ran the department. Anybody that had taken a 5-hour course wanted to teach public speaking, and I knew that them having people for 6 hours for one day was not going to make a public speaker out of them. So I I don't talk public speaking. I talk about communication skills because that's what's really needed in the workplace and in our world is listening skills. First of all, we have to listen, then we have to think, which is all part of the communication process, and then what comes out of our mouth. But we have to think first, or listen first, then think, and then speak. And so that's really, really important that we talk about communication because what do you think we spend our most time doing in Toastmasters? Anybody? And what do we do most of the time in Toastmasters?
Listen.
Yeah, just stop and think. If you're on the speaking program, you get 7 whole minutes. The rest of the time, you're quiet. You might listen for 90 minutes, hoping you get to do table topics for a minute and a half, that you actually get to speak. Or if you're an evaluator, you get 2 minutes out of that 90 minutes. We spend a lot of time listening, and listening is absolutely critical in the workplace. And it also creates, because we're learning to evaluate all the time, that's our thinking. So we're processing. And every time another evaluator gets up, we get more information that we process. So it builds that. So we want to talk about communication and leadership and experiential leadership, because otherwise it gets pushed away. Oh, people can read books, people can watch YouTube webinars, they can go to a day seminar, but we're talking about experiential, actually learning that. So some words, first of all, that I changed around, and you can adapt them according to the workplace that you go into, but these are the blinking red lights for me. First of all, when we talk about dues, in the workplaces I worked in, when we talk about dues, that talks about professional associations. And that right away is something that the corporations I worked at had a policy that they do not pay professional dues, that you do that because you're our professional. But when we send people to training in the corporate world, we send them to school or some kind of program, and we pay tuition. So I talk about tuition because that's really what we do to Toastmasters, because Toastmasters is only an education organization. We're in no other business. And we're all students, although we've all got various names of what we are, but we are students and we pay tuition to go to this education program. That's really important when you go to sell a product, because we're looking for them to bring students and to pay the tuition. Okay. I don't talk about our education program. I don't call it pathways, or we do paths or levels. I don't do any of that. They're going to glaze over. They're going to go, "Do you want money from me? Do you want time? What do you want? What am I going to get?" But they don't want to talk technical stuff or stuff that they don't understand or down into the nitty-gritty. I talk about the curriculum. I say the curriculum was built on adult education principles. There's approximately 300 competencies built into this training. It's it's a plug and play program. You don't have Every step along the way has its learning objectives. It has its evaluation criteria that people are required to meet. All you need to do is buy the program. You don't have to bring any of your training developers in to change the program. It's plug and play for you. So there's no other hidden costs for you. I talk about the necessity for their leaders in training, which would be their 7 leaders in their program, which we would call president, etc., which I wouldn't recommend them calling that, because the president of the company might not like it. So I call them other things. But when I talk about the leaders in their program and that they're learning practical leadership in those roles, I talk about the fact that leaders go to training, and leaders don't always get everything done in the work hours, that there is training for leaders and they'll be required outside of work hours to go to this training. And it's not optional. Leaders go to training. So if they're going to lead the group, they have to know how to lead it and what they're leading, and so they need to go to the training. So I just set different criteria because that's what we do at work, at least when I went to work. I talk about feedback, learning about feedback rather than evaluation, because evaluation in some of the places I worked means policy, that we're working through evaluation of programs, and it has a whole bunch of different meanings. So I talk about feedback because I want to relate to that transferable skill of giving feedback to your employees, giving feedback to your team, giving feedback on a project. And so I want to use that generic term. I talk about there being milestones. I don't talk about people getting designations and that, but I talk about milestones and we work through to goals. So we set goals as a team. We work towards those. We also set individual goals and work towards those, and that there's recognition along the way, but I don't get into great detail about it. I talk about it. The program is because it's experiential that we hold our learning sessions, not meetings, because meetings for them aren't where they learn. They're learning sessions. Okay, so we hold our learning sessions once a week for 1 hour. Okay, and then I say, and we'll set some expectations of your employees who attend the program, because the program works if you work the program. And so we're going to hold your employees accountable, as we know you want to do also, because you're spending time and money on them. So we're going to work with you to set that system up to hold them accountable so they show up and they work the program. And if not, then you can take them out of the program and put somebody else into it. Okay. I talk about I don't talk about their employees as members of Toastmasters. I refer to them as participants or learners. So again, it's a shift. I'm not talking about, um, you'll probably get a sense that I'm talking about them in their workplace, going down the hallway, doing what they do for every other program in the corporate world, not that they're going to something outside. We're going into their environment, not them coming to us. Big shift. But that comes with some benefits. And what do you think some of those benefits are? The first one is that if we go into their environment and take our program, we get their systems and their people. We get all their systems because we're just taking the learning just as we would if we were a contractor. We take our program into the corporate world. They can plug and play it. We're going to support the delivery of that program, but they are going to deliver the program. They, the corporation, not us, they're going to send people to Toastmasters. They are going to get their managers to pay for that employee to go during work hours because that's how they do their training. Now, if they don't do their training that way, then we're not going to sell them the Toastmasters program in-house during work hours and being paid. Okay, so we're going to go to how they do it, but we want to find out at the beginning, how do you do your training? So then we'll say, that's perfect. We need 1 hour every Tuesday at 2 o'clock in a boardroom to deliver this experiential learning. Okay. So there's some things because we are very different for them, and I'll come back to the no, let me finish the ideas about the systems. So what are some other systems we would benefit from in a corporation if we walked in and we became part of them, not taking them out into us? What do we get from a corporation if we bring a training event in-house? Tell me. Yes, Angela.
We get use of their internal communications into their company throughout their entire company saying, yeah, marketing, internal
Yes.
marketing.
However, they get people into software training, conflict resolution, team building, project management, everything else that they run, they're recruiting people every day. My team, we recruited for hundreds of courses all year long. That's what we were trained to do. That's what some of my people did every day, all day long, was enroll people in courses, work with supervisors and managers to find the proper course for the learning need of their employees. So yes, we get them. They're recruiting because they're identifying the needs, and we're there saying, we'll meet that need. So there's your recruitment strategy. Okay, so we've got the recruitment and their marketing. What else do we get from them? How do we get accountability from? Oh, Devin.
Oh, I was going to say IT support.
Yes, yes, we get IT support. So whatever it might be, if it's being on the intranet and they cycle through, or however they promote, or when we need a setup in the room, it knows people accessing. So sometimes we need IT support because there's barriers. So there's walls protecting inside a corporation so they can't get access to the curriculum. But we can go to IT and ask for them to give permission or to set up access for these employees because they're enrolled and approved by their supervisors. Or in some cases, they'll approve a certain number of kiosks that are open in their environment so that employees can go to the kiosks during work hours or break at work to have access. Yeah. Tom, what else? Hi, Tom.
Hello. I think if we can get into and be a part of their training program and be part of their learning, and if we can notice, we can get into that will maybe bring in even more members.
Yeah, absolutely. Because their managers are now going to know what it's about. It's going to go into the calendar or however they publish it. And then people are going to say, oh, that might help so and so. Or that supervisor or employee ends up in the training department's offices asking, I need help with blah, blah, blah. How many of us see people being sent to Toastmasters by their employees? Lots of people. So we can be there and they'll come. Yeah. So let's be there. And what else do we get from the corporate?
If we get and go in and do this right, we get on their schedule for billing for tuition to ensure that dues payments come in on time. That's sometimes a struggle for company clubs.
Absolutely. And so we can work with them to get them to figure out what they need in order to pay on time. And we've got to set up a time where they recruit and they can switch people over. So 6 months before, like 1 month before the dues is up for renewal, they have a recruitment time and they look at their wait list and they find out who's leaving and they put new people in there. So when they're doing that 6 month renewal, they're sending new members in and they're changing up what's happening. We've got to work with them to figure that out, to get that bill to them early enough so that they can process it, but also that it triggers ahead of time that they do that flip. If somebody's leaving, who's filling that seat? That's got to be a new member fee, because they are not, I will guarantee they are not going to send a new member fee on January the 12th because somebody joined yesterday. They are not going to do that. They're not going to send $12 checks or whatever it is off. They're not going to send one renewal and then another renewal. We've got to work with them, and we might have to have some intervention to make that happen. But we've got to be smart and do it well in advance, because we know that they pay their bills slowly. It's got to go through all these cycles. So start early. So we get their payment system, and that all hooks in. The other thing that we get, and this is really important, is performance review plans. Their employees, most of them are having performance checks by their supervisors. Somebody is following up. Somebody is approving their training. When we do it this way, we get our the employees who are enrolled in Toastmasters are now putting their goals for Toastmasters in their personal development plan with their supervisor. And what we do is recommend to the company that we put attendance percentage also in there, because they don't want to be paying for people that aren't showing up. And they don't want to be paying for people that aren't working the program. So we put it in their performance plans. And now the supervisor and the employer hold those people accountable to work the program. Not us. We don't have to chase them. If Pat doesn't show up, we just take attendance and we give that to the training department or whoever our liaison is in that corporation. Once a month, we just deliver the attendance to them or whatever's been set up in terms of a schedule for that. They follow up. I had staff that when I was running training, we had staff every morning that we had a training event. We had certain people on the phone phoning within the first half hour of that course starting. We went and got the attendance sheet out of the room. This was our job. Took the attendance out of there. We phoned the supervisor of the people that were not in the class who were booked, because we've paid for them and their time was allocated to be in there. Where were they? They are of age to be adults, but there's a lot of childish behavior goes on. We found a lot of people, quite a few people actually, it was quite shocking when we started doing this, that just skipped out. Told their supervisors they were going to training. Didn't show up at training. Had an empty seat that was paid for by their supervisor. And there was never any follow-up. So we started a program that followed up. And every program that somebody went to, they had to do a follow-up assessment so many weeks later and tell us how they had applied what they had learned. So we can do this not so stringently, but lots of corporations don't do it. So we want to build that into the personal development plans. That way the supervisor knows and can also do recognition. Oh, so Bob's a member. Oh, Bob, I see you're enrolled in the Toastmasters program, and I forgot that we talked about that 6 months ago. So how's that going? I know we agreed that you would do every 6 months, you would do a minimum of 2 prepared speeches, and that you would take on at least 6 other minor roles in the meeting. So how is that going? That's the supervisor's job, not Toastmasters. We've delegated, we're partnering with them. They're looking after that. If we set it up that way, and then they know what's happening. Then it gives the employees an opportunity to talk about what they're learning. It also gives the managers an opportunity, or the employers, to see them progress. So when I go in to do the sales call, I say, Toastmasters is experiential and it's a self-paced program. So we recognize that not everybody's going to have lots and lots of time or have the same quality time to get the product done. So we are, there's not a pass or a fail, but it's everybody at their own pace. Not everybody's going to be like me when we started. Speechless, shy, nothing to say for months. They're going to be noisy. They're going to have skills already. So we all start at a different place in the program, and people need to know that we learn by doing. That's really important, that we're going to build the skills, that we do things in a team environment. So while we're doing this, we're also working on team building. There's no lone wolves in Toastmasters. You can't go to a meeting by yourself, give the speech, run table topics, be the speaker, be the evaluator, be the general Well, you could, but who would want to? You would have no reason to go next week for sure. But we work on teams, and when you take on the role of Toastmaster for the day, you've got to build a team, or your general evaluator, you've got to build a team. And so we talk about some of those transferable skills, but working in a team environment, that there's a lot of peer learning that goes on. So it transfers back into the workplace in really nice ways, in that those transferable skills. It also affects the productivity, the morale, the contributions that come from the employees because of their confidence, their ability to speak up, or even to ask good questions, because they're thinking more clearly, they're processing information, and through this learning. They also, I found that there was an impact on people willing to supervise. And I don't know about your workplaces, but the ones I was in have been historically really difficult to find people who would supervise other people. They go, "Oh, you get $1.50 extra an hour? Are you kidding me? For that kind of trouble?" Assuming that we're all trouble, right? But people don't want to supervise people. They say it's too much work. It's not worth it. But that's what are they afraid of? They're afraid of having those difficult conversations, right? They're not afraid of the employees that excel or that do their job and always show up on time and get their product out and it's complete and meets all the standards and has a good attitude and plays well with they're not worried about those employees. They're worried about having those tough conversations, the kind we do when we say, I loved your opening. It, got me engaged. Somewhere in the middle, it fell apart for me. And I'm thinking about it, and I'd like to see you try this again and try it with, maybe chronological or whatever it would be. But we give feedback all the time, so you adapt it. And taking that skill and applying it. I used to have an opening because of my Toastmasters training. I had an opening that I would have because I had a couple of challenging employees when I was running departments, and mine was always, I would start out by saying, we have to have a conversation, and I just want you to know that this is a very difficult conversation for me to have. There's some things that you do exceptionally well. I really value you as an employee, and there's some things that need to be improved. And so I need to talk to you about what you can improve and how I can support you in that. Now, I don't know how that lands with you, but I felt like that was pretty close to something I would say in Toastmasters for feedback. Right? I would talk about something that was well and or good and that I valued and that I wanted to work with them to make it better. And I had people on letters of expectation, and we had those kind of conversations. But I was uncomfortable having them, so I was really transparent. I don't have to play tough. I just have to get results. I have to get the product done, and they know that. So I felt that was a really great transferable skill, to be able to do feedback like that and build the confidence to do it. And I think that too, that when we talk to the corporations, for them to understand that it's an ongoing program, because I had failed to mention this, and I had a couple of members in where I was working, and one of the managers was a friend of mine, and she came up to me and she said, "Could you tell me when Jan graduates from Toastmasters?" And I went, well, there is no graduation in Toastmasters. She said, "Well, she's been in 2 whole years, and does she just keep going forever?" I went, oh, we forgot to say there's no graduation, because, I mean, eventually you graduate, right? You get a degree or something. And I said, well, actually, as long as you're willing to support her and you think she's making progress, then you can keep supporting her. And if she keeps working the program and making progress, that's up to you. But we're not going to graduate her out. I said, I've been looking for the exit door. Well, I haven't, but then, the exit door doesn't appear magically. Yeah. Yeah. Elizabeth, yeah. Now that's funny. Looks like I'm a post grad. Okay. So those are important things to say though, because we know, but they don't know. And they're wondering like when does Jan graduate? So had to have that conversation. So those are some basic things to have conversations about, to get it set up so that we're going into their environment, we're adapting their ways, and we can tweak it and work around that. I have also in some corporations, because larger corporations and they're looking at people coming from different branches, etc. I've suggested that they create a Toastmaster program policy that specifies the time, the money, the support, the recognition for the participants, so that it's consistent across the corporation. Because there are branches in corporations where there's haves and have-nots when it comes to training, and you get a new supervisor comes in and says all training's cut or whatever. So I've just, for me, I've seen that having a Toastmasters policy is helping in terms of empowering the supervisors to keep their employees in it, and their employees to feel confident of it. So that's just an aside. So I know we're getting close to time before I get questions. So I just want to touch quickly on when I'm making a sales call, I want to talk about and drop the transferable skills. And so we have to really think about Toastmasters and what are the transferable skills. So I'm just going to give you a few highlights from my list, and then you can tell me some. So I'm talking about critical listening skills, critical thinking skills, and communication skills. I'm talking about interpersonal communication. I'm talking about presentations. I'm talking about developing sales pitches if they've got salespeople. I'm talking about changing their manner on the phone if they're running phone lines, service calls, or whatever they might be doing, like a call center. So all of those things. I'm talking about accountability. Toastmasters teaches accountability. If you say you're speaking next week, I'm counting on you. I'm going to check in on you because I'm the Toastmaster. I'm going to hold you accountable. Maybe we decide in our program that if you can't fill your role, you have to find somebody to fill it. Oh, tell me about it. It's way easier to fill the role yourself than to find somebody to fill it. So we teach accountability. We do some management training because we have administrative roles. It's not all leadership. There's administration. Just think of being an ed VP. An ed VP is very management. I'm going to move all these people and schedule them, and that's very operational. Time management, those good old timing lights like Christian's got on me. I'm learning time management tonight. So we teach that, what it feels like to talk for 10 minutes. We know that we've gone over. Those of us that have been in Toastmasters for a long time, we've got an internal clock that between 5 and 7, it starts ticking louder and louder and louder until we know we have to hurry up and get finished because 7 minutes is right up. And we'll go, I don't know what the time is. And somebody will say, oh, it's 6:55. Because we're so trained. But we train people to manage their time, to get clear, concise, get it finished, get it done. We work on setting and managing goals because we set our goals in our program and we work towards those. And then we ask you to set a goal and you work towards that. Feedback skills, team working skills, determining your purpose for speaking. That's really good in the workplace because nobody likes a person when they get up and ramble on and on. You go, could they just Get to the point. Well, we teach you how to get to the point. Yeah. Okay. So those are some of the transferable skills that I talk about. What are some of the ones that you would talk about? Anybody want to share?
I'd say running a meeting.
Oh, absolutely. Meeting management. Yes, I've got it on my list, but I'd skipped over it. That's perfect. Thanks, Ruth. Oh man, those dreadful meetings at work that aren't timed and don't have an agenda and that meander all over. And then nobody reports out if you ask an opinion. They all sit there and look at somebody else. So you go, well, we got together to stare one another down. Right. So get prepared. So all of that, meeting management, building agendas, running the meetings. Yes. Brilliant. Any other ones that come to mind?
Learning how to have
Just-
that difficult conversation.
Yeah, that conversation, absolutely. Bill?
I think they develop writing skills.
They do. Absolutely. Good one. Yes, we do. Tom?
Reaching out to people from other departments and then building future teams.
Yes, yeah, that interpersonal connection and not being afraid to reach out and know where you're going and how to do that. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Other ones? I think when we have confidence and self-esteem, we become much more participatory and we contribute more and we have more confidence to challenge an idea if it doesn't sit right. So that brings value to the workplace. We bring new ideas where we're more innovative, creative, contributing in different ways for sure. Yeah. So lots and lots of transferable skills that we can talk about. And the other thing is table topics helps us win new jobs in the workplace because we actually can hear the question and then we know how to answer it. I don't know how many people here work in HR, but I used to be a chair for interviews, and it was amazing on a sad scale how many people never answered the question. When you ask them a question in an interview, you sit there and you go, I can't hire you because I know you know this, but you're not answering the question. And I can't give you credit for something you can't tell me about. So if companies are interested in keeping long-term employees and promoting them internally, Toastmasters will help them do that. Yeah. Well, I've got about a day and a half more material to share with you, but Christian says it's time for you to talk and ask me questions. So let's have a go at that. So
Thank
I'm
you,
going to
Pat.
turn
How
it
about
over
a
to
round
you.
of applause for Pat?
Oh, thanks, Bob.
Great job. So what we're going to do, if you have a question for Pat, please put it in the chat. We have time for questions up until about the top of the hour. While you're doing that, just to let you know, so Pat has literally written the handbook for corporate clubs. It's available from toastmasters.org. And if you want, oh, there you go. Thank you, Tom. It goes into the material she covered and so much more, resources, everything you could possibly want. So please check that out. If you have a question, please put it in the chat and I'll read a few of them out. All right, so this is a comment, Pat, from Ruth. Ruth Levitsky says she has a corporate club that meets once a month and it's run solely by the HR person, and their progress seems to be so slow.
Of
Would you like to respond to
course.
that?
How could it be anything but slow? I mean, they get what? Somebody that speaks gets 7 minutes once a month to speak. And you have two speakers or three speakers? I'm surprised that they function. There would be no incentive for me to show up once a month if Anne and DJ were speaking and Tom was the evaluator and Angela was the Toastmaster and Christian was the general evaluator, what am I going for? Sit and listen to them talk.
The thing is, they run a really good meeting. It's an hour-long meeting, and it's a really good meeting, but it's once a month, and they have one
Yeah.
person running it, and I'm encouraging them. And part of the challenge is that area director's report that you have to do. It's totally demoralizing if I were to fill it out the way Toastmasters wants me to, which I didn't. I said the meeting far exceeds expectations. It was a great meeting, but it's only once a month, and one person is running it.
It may be their way of having control. Is the HR person a Toastmaster?
Yes, she is. The
Yeah.
thing is, I have to also say that the club in the past, she gets a lot of credit for keeping this club together. In the past, they met in person, and eventually it dwindled down. She got 6 more new members this year. There's a lot of positive things to talk about, but it's a little frustrating. You can only suggest things, and
Yeah.
they know what they want.
Well, and I guess if it ain't broke, don't.
It's broke. I mean, but they've got something, and I've
Yeah.
encouraged them to participate. Just participate in district things and things like that. And
The problem I see with one person running it always, even when it's an employee that comes along and wants to run it and they establish it in their corporation and it's their baby, that when that person leaves, the club folds. There's no sustainability. So there's
Mhm.
a huge vulnerability in this club from the outside, and that they meet once a month. I don't know how they keep people engaged. I would be, and they're certainly not going to make distinguished.
they do keep people engaged. And I did talk to them
Well,
about that. If they get the administrative goals in one education, they can be distinguished. Just putting that out there for them. But anyway, I
well,
mean, I'm happy. I have to say, when I got this club, I thought, did they let them do this? Charter a regular club once a month, but it evolved. I mean, apparently. But anyway, I'll keep you posted how we're doing. They
Yep.
they pay for their tuition. They do
Yep.
pay for their tuition,
yeah.
but it's a process where they have to go to the manager, and there's a lot of gatekeeping going on.
Oh yeah, there usually is. Yeah, that's not unusual.
So we have a couple of questions in the interest of time, Pat. So
Yep.
Carly
Thank
Cox
you.
is asking, any suggestions for how to take a current corporate club that was not built following your guidelines and helping them to implement the suggestions?
Yeah. Thanks. Hi, Carly. Um, yeah, I do. I would go in and reposition the club. I would go in and make like a new business call with them and just say that you're with Toastmasters and you're checking on the club and you notice that there's, whatever is going on, blah, 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 blah. If you can find out who was involved at the beginning. And I would go in and say, we've been doing a lot of work and research on Toastmasters in the corporate world, and we feel that there's a better way of having you more in charge of what's happening as well as getting more results for your people. And I would try and reset it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if, do you find that having sort of an external person come in and have those conversations tends to go better, or is that something that could be managed internally by people who are in the corporate club themselves, like the corporate club officers?
Um, I would say it depends on how knowledgeable they are and how what their relationships are with the corporation and where they're positioned. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. Um, because they would have to put their hat on, as far as I'm concerned. It might work otherwise, but to come at it from uh, the Toastmasters perspective. So they would have to understand how it could all be set up from the Toastmasters perspective. So how would it go into their training department? How would they set time and tuition for the people? And they would have to have a negotiation, because I know time and money is usually the big negotiations, right?
Mhm.
And so that's where I would come from. For example, I just be transparent because this is what's going on in my head. I was involved with a corporate club at a college a couple of years ago, and there was somebody inside that had started that club, and they got it going. And I said, okay, here's the guidelines. And we were setting it up like a corporate club and or a corporate program, and we were working it through. And that person was so set in their minds of how their community club was that they were a member of, that every time we set a benchmark with the college, they would go in and talk to them and reset it.
Mm.
So it finally blew apart after 6 months. And we're going, what happened? And we found out that this employee was talking them out of everything we were putting in place.
Mm.
So that's where I'm coming from. It depends on the person and what they're saying and how they're doing it. Yeah.
Thank you.
But I wouldn't be
Pauline has,
afraid. I wouldn't be afraid to use somebody inside if they were skilled and knowledgeable.
I'm a member of a corporate club. I mean, my corporate club's
Oh.
pretty good, but listening to what you said, there's probably some opportunities for us to adjust. So that's why I was asking, if that's something that
If it's you, go
if
ahead.
it's me, you go ahead. All right.
That's an easier question. Back to you, Bob.
yeah, thanks. So Pauline has a question, Pat. How many members are ideal to start, and what support do you provide when launching that corporate club?
Well, I want at least 25. I don't write a charter paper, and if we've got 20, because the next week we're below minimum. 20 is minimum, so I want 25 members. And what was the next? What support
What
do
sort
I
of support?
provide?
Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm pretty demanding if I'm in charge. So when we go into the corporate world, they don't know things. And they're brand new babies. They don't know proxies for district conferences. They don't know district conferences. They've never heard of speech contests. They've never heard of TLIs or COTs or all this kind of stuff. They don't know the jargon. They've never seen pathways before. All of this is brand new. They're brand new babies. And so I have a requirement. This is my requirement if I'm working with a corporation. The sponsor has to stay at least 6 months. I know Toastmasters says when you sign the papers, you're free. No, you are not. No, you are not. You cannot abandon us. You did the work. You've got the relationship with them. We need you there. So I wouldn't let them off. I'd have them for 6 months. Sponsor has to be a minimum of 1 year because we've got annual cycles. And they guess when we lose new clubs in the corporate world? 6 months. They don't know how to do renewals. So they just have all these problems pile up. Area director walks in, does a report. That doesn't solve a thing. So I would say area directors that have got corporate clubs have to be trained to problem solve them. Club officers have to get trained. So if you have special training at the district level for corporate programs, which are different than some clubs that are inside corporations, but then also those sponsors and mentors have to be there. Those club sponsors and mentors. And it's ideal. My dream world would be every district would have a district corporate liaison, and they would keep track of all the corporate clubs or corporate programs. They would train the area directors that were going in and help problem solve them, and they would help set up a process for the district to get them online to pay and recruitment and work on those kind of initiatives. That's what support I would be. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're just at the top of the hour. Let's thank Pat once again. Pat, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So next, we're going to have a panel of leaders in corporate clubs from District 31. And as I call your name, if you would, please raise your hand so you go up to the top corner and then introduce yourself for 1 minute. So we're going to have Joe Campo, Devin Winkler, and Barry Reacher. All right. Devin, I see your hand. Devin, would you introduce yourself for a minute? 1 minute, please, Christian.
Hello, fellow corporate club Toastmasters. This is the best workshop I've been to all year. Woo! Love seeing corporate love. Yes, I chartered a brand new corporate club at the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority about a year ago. And I can share that we meet at the minimum of once a month for an hour. We have very good quality meetings, and it's been challenging to try and encourage my fellow club officers to make the decision to meet more frequently. Instead of holding additional meetings, we've been holding additional events as a club. So we've had educational programs that last half an hour on a Friday because we are under the Employee Resource Group program. So all of the work happens on our own time. I'm very encouraged by all the information that Pat Johnson shared with us tonight, and I'm going to be enacting it promptly. On to the next corporate club.
Thank you, Devin.
member.
Yeah. Barry, would you introduce yourself, please, for a minute?
Thank you. I'm Barry Recker. I've been a Toastmaster since 2017 in a corporate club, and we struggled quite a bit to the point where we had officially 10 members, but only 5 were coming. And during COVID, we were able to jump up to 22 members, and it was all because of joining the Employee Resource Group. A lot of what we do is interacting with other employee resource groups and really just trying to get out. And right now we are reigniting, as the company is saying, we're reigniting what we're doing in the workplace, and then we are also doing that with our club. And I think I'm actually going to start calling it a program now and really bring that to life. So I'm happy to be here.
Great. Thank you, Barry. And next, Joe Campo, if you'd introduce yourself, please.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Joe Campo. I'm the president of Dassault System Boston Campus Club. We're a corporate club that holds hybrid meetings based out of Waltham, Massachusetts. I've been with the club since 2015. The club was founded in 2013. And if I'm not mistaken, we've reached distinguished each year. Sometimes it's been close, but we have a pretty solid system, strong membership, a strong executive sponsor. We also are an open club, which has helped us tremendously. We've gotten officers who are not members of Dassault. So I think if your corporate club might consider expanding, you might have a better chance of getting that membership up, which is usually restricted with internal clubs. Back to you,
Thank you,
Bob.
Joe. Thank you. So same process as before. Put your questions in the chat, please. I'll read them out. And for the panelists, you'll have 2 minutes each. Each panelist will get a chance to answer. So while people are doing that, my first question is what's one result your program is supposed to deliver, and how do you currently show that to them? And if the panelists would keep your hands up, just so I can keep an eye on you. So Devin, what's one result your program is supposed to deliver, and how do you currently show that?
Yes, thank you, Bob. One result that we're supposed to demonstrate that we put down in our employee resource group goals for the year was that we provide diversity and inclusivity at our meetings. by being an employee resource group at the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority, we have to have our meetings be open to all. So we make sure that we have all of our meeting like information in the public forum so that all staff can attend.
Great. Thank you, Devin. Barry, what's one result from your club?
For us, it was really being able to workshop and network with the other employee resource groups, showing them that we are a resource. And I had just reviewed the application or charter that we had with the employee resource group a few years ago. And we do that quite a bit where we go into even department meetings. We've been invited to department meetings to just present for them and give table topics and really show them a little bit about what Toastmasters can do for their employees. And that's how we've gotten some of our members.
Great. Thank you. Joe, how about for you at Dassault?
I don't think we have any requirements. I think the major requirement is that we hold the meetings regularly, that we make the meetings available to anyone. That was enabled by our hybrid solution. We got IT to help us get a great room set up so we have great sound and great audio visual. I also echo the diversity. We have a very diverse club with many languages, many cultures. So I think my company is French-based and they're very much into diversity. So I think that's one of the key things that we have stressed and that they grade us on is being a diverse club, and we meet regularly and welcome everyone.
Great. Thank you, Joe. Next question is when leadership asks about your program, corporate leadership, what do you put in front of them to show them? Let's start with Barry. Barry?
For me, I really just tell them my story, where I started, how Toastmasters helped me, how I found my voice. About 2 years ago, we got 2 executive sponsors, which was wonderful. We just lost them in the past 3 months, so we're trying to get new ones. But one of the things that I spoke to them about was my story. Why did I go to Toastmasters? How did that affect me? Not just finding my voice as being a confident speaker, but becoming a leader. And when I put that in place, that's when our executive sponsors really bought into the program and said, how can we support you? What can we do to get the members, and how can we get them to participate? We're still working on the second half, but we got the members.
Yeah. Thank you, Barry. Joe, how about for you? When they ask about that, what do you put in front of them?
Well, first, I'm proud to say that at one point we had the CEO of our company who was a member. One of our members, Karen, she's the executive assistant to him. We called him GP, John Paolo. We called GP, hey, come on in and attend this meeting. Having a CEO attend the meeting, that was quite powerful. We also post a lot on internal systems, social media. I've gotten several responses from I think he's the managing director of North America. Oh, I love Toastmasters. We'll do anything to support your club. We also got some good feedback from the person that was running our building, Dan Barnes, who, oh, I believe in your club and just tell me what you need. And I think a lot of that is just word of mouth and doing really good PR. It's just to show that we're active and we're getting people involved. We all have a story of this person made this progress, this person made that progress. Most of them leave the company because they've done such a great job improving that they move on. So word of mouth, I think.
Yeah, the improved people are your testimonials. Yeah.
Yes.
How about you, Devin? When they ask to see how you're doing, anything you put in front of them?
Certainly, I have been scheduling roughly quarterly meetings with our 3 executive sponsors that we have, also to more broadly share what's been going on in the club. We have a newsletter that we post monthly on our internal version of Facebook. And we continue to make sure that we keep all staff that have attended who aren't active members. We refer to them as guests, and we keep them informed of all of the meetings. So far, we've only ever had one person ask to be taken off the list, but yeah, we do our best to make sure that we get the word out there. And it's been great. We've held some of our socials in public spaces at the workplace, and we've had senior staff come by and tell us that, oh, I've been meaning to come to a meeting. And we've heard so much good feedback from the members that we have that has made its way up to senior staff.
Yeah, thank you. There's a question from Tom. Tom would like to know, do you recognize your employees when they succeed in their company and highlight Toastmasters training and education? Let's start with Joe on that one.
Do we recognize the employees and their achievements? Definitely. We have a really active club website, but we also have an internal social media. We keep the website updated, and I make sure to write, this person achieved this level, this person achieved this level. We finally gotten around to getting ribbons, and we're going to start giving out level 1, level 2, level 3 ribbons to people. And we're going to PR that on our internal website, and that anyone can view it within the entire company. So yes, those types of things are quite powerful, and people will say, oh, look, I saw your picture on there, or I saw your picture giving a presentation at SolidWorks World, 3D Experience World, they call it. Those are very helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Devin, how about for you?
Yeah, I'll just speak to our newsletter again because we have it posted in that employee news page. And each time it's a summary of what happened in the meeting, which we highlight those people who spoke and make sure that we're saying what project it was for, and extra emphasis when it's an icebreaker. We also add in the moment announcements to this space when people have given a presentation at a conference, or if people have been nominated for quarterly awards through District 31.
Yeah,
thank you. Barry, how about you for recognizing?
We do. So we're all internal. We went from community to corporate. And so it's just our corporate employees. And we use Teams. We were using the achievement board. The company is switching over, but we use Teams. So anytime somebody really just makes that extra effort, or they finally achieve level 1 or level 4, whatever it is, we do a shout out to them. And we also provide them the option if they'd like to get some swag that we have accumulated over the years that's Toastmaster swag. And we send it out to them to say, hey, you did an amazing job. We're so proud of you. We are looking at other ideas to bring it in for more recognition, immediate recognition, I should say. So right at the club meeting or after a club meeting. And once our internal website is allowed to be posted to the company, then we'll be using that as well.
Oh, thank you, Barry. So next question is, Letitia would like to know, how do you address situations where members or prospective members are responsible for covering their own dues rather than having a company sponsorship? And let's start with Devin on that one.
Certainly, having been a newly chartered club, I don't have a lot of experience with the financial side of things yet, but I will share that currently we are given an amount of money for a fiscal year for our club, and we can use it however we see fit, as long as it's not for something that's a perishable food item or consumable. And right now, the officers and I are discussing what should it look like. Like, should we just use all of that money towards these membership dues and that's it? Or should we have some kind of requirement of participation or speech presentation in order for us to cover membership dues?
Yeah, thank you. Barry?
For us, we've always gone with the company will reimburse you if your department approves it. So in my company, we used to have a cost center, but it was never used for member dues. It was you pay your dues and your department can put it under the educational expense. We've lost members where departments have changed their mind after so long, but then we've gained a lot of members because they're putting in the money, whether they do it for 6 months or they do it for a year. They put in the money, they get reimbursed, which has been beneficial for some. And then we have other members who said they won't reimburse me, but I find value in this, and they still come.
Yeah, thank you. Joe, how about for you?
For our Dassault employees, they get reimbursed for their dues once or maybe twice. That's been questioned by their manager, and they try to get involved, or the president, if it's not me, involved in talking to that manager to say, hey, this is sponsored under the North American Women's Initiative. Our executive sponsor, Reka, fully supports this, and they try to push it up to get approval. If we have external members, they come to the club, there's no expectation that the dues are reimbursed, so they're paying them willingly.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. And starting with Barry this time, where do you feel resistance today? From members or from the corporation? And what do you think is causing that resistance?
I would say it's from our members, and a little bit from the corporation. So for us, we have government contracts. So we have to be very careful in how we advertise ourselves over the past few years, which unfortunately means we had to stop a lot of the employee resource group events. And when that happened, I actually did a panel a few weeks ago on the benefits of being an employee resource group for a Toastmaster project. And I was able to record it and we share it. And that's how we've been doing things. But as far as the resistance, yes, there is some from the company. We're going through and really saying this is how we align with the company. And this is why you should still invest in Toastmasters. But the problem is sometimes they downsize, things change. And when that happens, some people who are members get more responsibilities. So now there's that small group who they were participating, but now they're really busy and they don't have the time to put in. And so it's us looking and saying, how can we support you? How can we help you so you can come in and gain that experience that you're paying for?
Yeah, thank you. Joe, how about for you? Where do you guys see resistance? Members or corporation?
That's a good question. Interesting. In certain ways, it's the corporation. In certain ways, it's members, because again, we're a French company, so the headquarters is south of Paris. French people are somewhat resistant to English. They're they have a challenge speaking English, often have a challenge. And so I think Toastmasters coming in as I would say, English-centric program faces that innate resistance. I did at one point say, I want to establish Toastmasters throughout the company. I really wanted to become the Toastmasters evangelist. And the idea got no traction because they said France won't agree. But there's also some resistance from members, but that's pretty much what Barry said. It's all time. We have to always say, employees, you got to do your job first. You're working for the company. And many of them have fallen to the wayside because of time.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Devin, how about for you? You see resistance?
I think resistance is a tricky word to use in my situation. I think we're still figuring it out. I think we're still having the conversation is open between management and the employees that have participated so far. And I'm just really excited to, take these ideas that Pat shared with us tonight to try to help bolster the conversation and hopefully direct it towards training, because I think that's the most appropriate place for this kind of program in corporate culture. That's always been my goal, and it might take a long time, but I feel reinvigorated towards it after tonight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here. Thank you, Devin. Starting with Joe, if you had to make one change, and if anybody has questions, please drop them in the chat. If you had to make one change for the club to be taken more seriously and expand within the company, what do you think that could be?
One change to make the club expand. Make it mandatory via HR that every new employee must join Toastmasters. End of story. We'd be all
Yeah.
set.
Yeah. And in Pat's book, she does talk about the idea about getting it into the orientation process.
Yep.
Yeah. Devin, how about for you? Anything? If you had to make one change?
Yeah, put us in the training department and have the interns have to attend the meetings while they're in the internship program.
Yeah. Yeah. Barry?
We have a learning center program called the university, and they have a lot of different things. You can learn whatever you want. Excel, they even have public speaking. And one of the people that I had listened to recommended Toastmasters. So I would love for us to be able to have our own little section to say, hey, here are some workshops we recorded for you because we've been doing that recently. And here's our contact. So contact us so you can continue on your learning journey. So I think that would be the one thing is really pair up with what we use the university internally so we could have our own part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. So following up, so Joe, to make it mandatory, what would the value need to be, you think, for DeSo to see that and say, oh, this is so good, we are going to make it mandatory? And is there a way you could position that value?
Well, yeah, it's all the skills that Pat was talking about, but I have tried many times unsuccessfully to get my foot in the HR door, in the training door, in the France door, and I just can't get them to take us seriously.
Hmm.
We keep saying, okay, we're a worldwide company. We've got 25,000 people. Can you imagine what Toastmasters could do to that corporation? We do have a Toastmasters club in Pune, India. They're very good. There's a new Toastmasters company, uh, club, excuse me, in Europe based on one of our brands, Metadata. But we don't have a Toastmasters club at the headquarters where there are most people. And I'm scratching my head. And I had an inquiry from a French person last week, and I said, "Oh, you need to do Toastmasters," and I got a little bit of a role. And then the people in France got involved, and they say, "Oh, we have this internal training." And again, I'm just like banging my head against the wall to try and spread it. So a change of mindset at the top, that would be the only way.
Yeah, thank you. Devin, how about for you? Any thoughts on how to make that happen?
Yeah, my game plan. We have lunchtime learning sessions that are currently held by one particular employee, and we've made a big technology change in the last year. And our IT department definitely does not have the time to do the training. And I feel that with running a hybrid meeting, we've learned a lot about this technology. And so I think one of the first things we could do to be taken more seriously is to run a training for everyone about how to use this tech.
Yeah, thank you. Barry, any thoughts on your end?
Well, in regards to Joe, I would say you have three executive sponsors or any part of HR. And can you convince them to meet with the people in France? For us, we're also worldwide, and they, instead of having silos of this is the France and this is Asia, they've actually merged everyone. So that for us has been extremely helpful. But if they're not doing that for you, Joe, I say go talk to HR and see if you can get one of their executives to sponsor you.
Yeah, thank you.
That's how it worked for us.
Yeah, thank you, Barry. So we're in the final 2 minutes, so I'll give each of the panelists a chance to leave us with 2 minutes of wisdom, or maybe a minute each. How about a minute each? And then we'll go into corporate announcements. Devin, your wisdom, please.
My wisdom is to build a corporate network amongst us and springboard off tonight. Please reach out to me. I always love having guests that are more experienced. We're a club full of people that have only been in Toastmasters for a year. Please come visit.
Yeah, thank you. Barry?
For me, it was, I went from a community club at the corporate office of 6 members to 22 within a year. We became select distinguished. And in that process, I think that one of the things that I learned was you have to be able to connect with the right people and really let them understand what the benefits are. And my biggest lesson out of the entire thing was, how do I pivot? And in my opinion, Toastmasters were good at a few things. And one of them is seeing what the issue is and pivoting. We may have a narrow mindset of this is what I want and this is how I'm going to get it, but something happens and you have to adjust and you pivot. You get same outcome, maybe even better. But that was my lesson over the years.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Barry. Joe, final thought?
All of the above. Also, if you're struggling, try to identify an executive sponsor that you can talk to using what Pat described, because that's helped us. We had a strong executive sponsor who believed in us. She retired, was replaced by another strong executive who trusted us. The things we've done on our campus have elevated our visibility with people showing real progress in high visibility positions, and that's helped us as well. So it's PR and form a strong relationship with your executive sponsor. And one last time, if you can do it, open your club to not just your internal only members, but other clubs from other people from outside the company.
Thank you. How about a round of applause for our panel? Thank you very much, panelists. All right. So we're going to go into the district announcements now. So if you've got any thoughts about how good this program was or what you'd like to see differently in the future, please add it to the chat. That'll serve as our survey for tonight. And panelists, if you'd like to put your contact information in so that people can get in touch with you directly, I'd appreciate that. And right now, I'll return control back to you, Christian, for announcements.